Hi, this is Papa G, and welcome to Papa Can Cook. Today, I'd like to show you a recipe that's a family favorite. It's called macaroni, chopped meat, and peas. But before I do that, I'd like to spend a few minutes, actually 3 minutes, showing you and talking to you a little bit about the person who taught us that recipe, the love of my life, Marian. I've talked to you a little bit about her in my first video, and you've probably seen her in a couple of the pictures when we had family gatherings. But I'd like to tell you a little bit more about her, what she's overcome, what she's struggled with, and what she's struggling with now. So if you bear with me, 3 minutes, and then we'll get into the recipe. I wanted to tell you a bit about my sweetheart Marian. I met her 48 years ago. We were both going to a small college in Oakdale, New York, and I fell in love with her when I first saw her, and 6 months later we were married. We've been married going on 48 years. We've had our ups and downs, but in general it's been a glorious time. Marian has accomplished much over her years. She raised 4 beautiful children. I did help. But she was always busy. She was always doing something else also. She was babysitting for other people's children, or at one point she started a home-based business with her niece, making dried flower arrangements and gift baskets. And those gift baskets developed relationships with real estate agents and mortgage brokers. And from that, they asked her to become a mortgage broker, which she did for about 15 years. She was very good at it. She was very successful. But then in 1999, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. And that put a halt on things. She went through surgery and chemo and subsequent treatment. She came out the other end a stronger person and cured of her cancer. And she decided at that point she wanted to go back to school, and she always wanted to do something in the helping profession. So she went back and finished her undergraduate degree at SUNY Empire State. She went on for a MSW at Stony Brook, and from there went straight on for her PhD in social welfare, which was granted in 2012. She was at the pinnacle. She was so ecstatic and excited. She was at the top of her career. I was so proud of her. She was a full-time professor at Empire State. She was a licensed therapist, and she was just enjoying everything that she was doing. But then a few years later, she started to exhibit issues with memory, and then anxiety and depression. And to make a long story short, over the next subsequent 4 years, she has been diagnosed with various different ways, and basically it's boiled down to a degenerative disease that has affected her neurological process. It's impacted her both physically and mentally, and it's robbed a lot of what she had accomplished over those years. But she still knows us, she loves us, she laughs with us, she enjoys the time that she spends with her children and her grandchildren that are close by, and we love her dearly. She is the love of our lives. We love you, Marian. Now for the recipe, macaroni, chopped meat, and peas. This has been a recipe that Marian made for our family as long as I can remember. The kids growing up absolutely loved it. A very simple recipe and real comfort food. Back in 2004, Marian, while she was in the midst of completing her undergraduate work at SUNY Empire State College, wrote the recipe down, and we typed it up, saved it. She actually wrote a bit of a narrative as to where it started and so forth. Very interesting. I'll post this on the website also. But she talked about the fact that this is really a variation of pasta pizzile, which is a macaroni and peas Italian dish. Her grandmother on her father's side, the grandfather and the sons, including Marian's father, were all butchers. And they lived upstairs from the butcher shop in Brooklyn. And so she had meat around all the time, and she decided, I guess, to add Chopmeat to pasta basil, and came up with macaroni, chopped meat, and peas. A very easy, like I said, very easy recipe. You should read this, what she wrote about it. It's interesting. Anyway, the ingredients. Pasta. I use this La Venetian pasta. There's a link on my site. I get it from Amazon. It's imported from Italy. It's without doubt the best gluten-free pasta around. It's got the best taste. When you cook it right, you cook it al dente, even the spaghetti and the fettuccine, which is like a fettuccine, they come out very tasty, and they don't fall apart. Most of the store-bought gluten-free pasta, if you cook it and try and twirl it around a fork, it just breaks apart. This doesn't. So I'm using shells, which is what Marianne recommends in her recipe. I'm using a can of Tutto Rosso tomato sauce. It's gluten-free. Cento also has a gluten-free tomato sauce. We're going to use 1 onion. We're going to use sweet peas. And of course, chopped meat. I got a pound of grass-fed ground beef. And we're going to be using salt and pepper. That's it. Very basic ingredients. Next, I'll show you how it's made. All right, it's time to make the macaroni, chopped meat, and peas. I've got some olive oil heating up in the pan. I chopped up my onions. I'm going to put them in the pan. That's just 1 small onion chopped fine. I got a wooden spoon. You want to make the flame too high. You want to be able to cook this onion until it softens but does not brown. In the meantime, I've got the water in the macaroni pot heating up, so I can boil that because everything goes very quickly. So I'm going to give this a couple of minutes and then I'll be right back. All right, the onions have softened. They're good. I'm going to take the ground beef, put that in the pan. I like to use a potato masher to at least do the initial breaking up. Okay, the rest of it I can do. Just keep breaking it up. When the beef no longer runs pink, you don't want to overcook it, but it's no longer pink, then we can move on to the next step. So I'll be back in a couple of minutes. All right, the meat is cooked nicely, no longer pink. I'm going to take just the juice from the peas. And let that cook. And then I'm going to add the tomato sauce. Okay. All right, let that come to a boil, then turn it down to a simmer, and let it simmer for about 15 minutes. Okay, the sauce has been cooking for about 15 minutes. I am now going to take the peas, put the peas in, give it a quick stir. I'm going to put about half teaspoon of salt and a half teaspoon of pepper. You can adjust it afterwards. Give that a stir. And as soon as the pasta is finished, al dente, I'm going to drain it. Reserve a little bit of water just in case you need it, although I don't think you're going to need it because this is pretty saucy. And then you can pour the sauce in with the macaroni and serve it, and I'll show a picture of what the final product looks like.